Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. This is not a news show. It's an opinion show. We encourage you to do your own research. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Now enjoy the show.
We're back. Now with a little more burn. Speaking of, I was just in the truck stop and I see that Packy's, the chip brand, is now offering the 2003 edition of the One Chip Challenge, and I will have to do that again at some point. See if I can make it. I think I did 52 minutes last time on air. I actually made it over an hour with the chip, but next time I will make sure that the broadcast lasts a full hour just so everybody can see me not take a drink. And yeah, I'm gonna do that again.
I did that back in the day. I did that. We did jalapenos, and man, me and my friends did a podcast. You had to win the game after eating a jalapeno, then a ghost pepper, and then the hotter pepper than ghost pepper. I don't know what that one was. But you had to win the game before you could drink milk.
Reaper, right? Carolina Reaper.
It was horrible, and you had to win the game. You had to win the game between three people before you could drink the milk, and it was horrible. It was just downright terrifying. And then I think one of us touched our eyes. I think I did, and that sucked. It was a miserable day.
As said before, very disgustingly on the episode where I took the One Chip Challenge, my mouth can handle any amount of heat. It's the other end that I worry about. And the way that you deal with that, and this is a trick I learned from the Indians, the Vivek Ramaswamy's kind of Indians, the Nikki Haley kind of Indians, you eat yogurt afterwards, and it's not as bad. So yogurt is the key to surviving the other end,
Yeah, definitely. I was first raised Messianic Jew, so I got that culture, and then my mom converted to Hinduism, which is a very weird switch. But yes, I went to all the Hindu conventions all over the U.S. And yes, whenever they served all their spicy food, which is, in my opinion, some of the best food you can find anywhere, they always had yogurt to accompany it. They had a little thing of yogurt, and they had some other side dish to accompany it. Might have been lentils or some lentil-like substance, but they definitely had yogurt on every dish. But the food was delicious, but you definitely wanted to grab a hold of that yogurt.
Speaking of Vivek and Nikki Haley and Jews, they made sure to argue over which one of them was going to give the most amount of money to Israel. That is because they don't care about you whenever they're doing these debates. They're not trying to win you over. They're trying to win the donor class over. There's no more Sheldon Adelsons, but there's somebody like him just waiting in the wings, rubbing his little hands together, doing what they do. What do you think about the debate?
All right, well, I'm going to touch first on the funding to Israel that you mentioned. All right, so the funding to Israel is, to me, a very interesting topic, partially because essentially what Vivek is saying is essentially what he's saying is he wants to get more people to get into what's that treaty that they did, the Abraham Accords. He wants to get more countries into the Abraham Accords so that they stop fighting so often, and then he wants to start sending less money to Israel. That's not the way the news is spinning it. So he's saying, let's create more peace, more treaties, and then as we lower the tension, we lower the funding. But they're spinning that as in Vivek does not want to fund Israel at all, which is not something any Republican president is going to say. So,
well, no, he made sure to say that he does want to fund them. and then Nikki Haley said that he doesn't want to fund them enough, and that our survival depends on their survival, which is insane talk, because it,
It's
or wait, we need them more than they need us. They have not helped us. There's not one damn thing that they've helped us on. Do you see them out there like sending money to Ukraine? In fact, there's problems with that. Not that I think that
why
that's
do we
actually
want them?
helping us.
Why do we
I
want
don't
them
think
to
it's
send money
actually
to
helping
Ukraine?
us, but there's actually a problem with that. Zelensky talked to the bigger noses, and the bigger noses are saying that that they're not going to give him money, and Zelensky's like, well, you can't come here then, and they're like, it's a war-torn shithole. We don't want to come there anyway. So there you go.
So, okay, so on the Israel to Ukraine part, I don't give a flying hoot. I literally don't. I mean, it's one of the stupider things we've done, in my opinion. I think it's to hide Joe Biden's corruption and his family's corruption. That's my personal
It's
opinion at this point.
it's bigger than that. It's way bigger than that.
I don't doubt it.
There's a lot to do with that, but those biolabs might have something to do with a virus that seems to be sticking its nose up at us as well. So.
Well, that was the other one with Vivek that they tried spinning, basically him saying we need to get the manufacturing of chips back here. That way we don't have to guard Taiwan.
Hey, what's our old take on these chips? Why do we need chips in every damn single thing? Things worked fine before chips.
I still want them to deregulate the building trucks and cars and all the other stuff so we can actually start building the old vehicles. I've been offline, not offline, but I've had to spend the last 2 weeks borrowing my buddy's vehicles in order to mow yards. The reason I've had to do that is because it took days upon days, like not straight, but I think I spent a total of 18 hours just on research to find, turn the light off. It looks better with the light off. Yeah, that's better. It took days upon days in order to find my drive shaft that came off. And the reason it's taking so long is all these damn regulations. The regulations make it so that they need to make everything fancy and, oh yeah, we're just going to, take away the carbon in America, but we're going to make these coal miners, not coal miners, but the cobalt miners over in, I don't know, not Ecuador, but, in Nigeria and all these other areas. We're going to make them do all the pollution. And there's more pollution coming out of these freaking...
Right. Isn't it fascinating that all of those countries that the cobalt and nickel and or not nickel, sorry, lithium and chemicals like that, all of these chemicals that are going into the batteries, that's where all these wars are happening?
Oh yeah, it's totally a coincidence. It's totally a coincidence.
So speaking of, did you hear about Prigozhin, Hot Dog Man, Putin's former ally? I guess he tried to run a coup, and then Putin said, "Yeah, it's cool, it's good." Plane came out of the sky.
they definitely did not just rip out one of his teeth. They did not rip out one of his teeth, put it on the plane, and he's definitely not still in a Russian prison so that they can pull out more information from him. He's definitely not in a Russian prison. They definitely did not just
that's interesting. That's an interesting theory. I like that. I don't think he's safe at home enjoying time with the family. But he has faked his death before. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, apparently I just learned that recently. Interesting, but
Did you like Peter Pettigrew? No, wait. Peter Pettigrew took off that finger. From Harry Potter, he faked his death by taking off the finger. And in Harry Potter, the only piece of Peter Pettigrew that they could find was a piece of his middle finger. because he cut it off, and then he blew up a gas line and killed 13 muggles, as they call them in Harry Potter, just normal people. Is that why he's missing part of one of his fingers? He cut it
I
off.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
no,
haven't read Harry Potter. It's cool.
Jojen cut off part of his finger in order to fake his death.
Prigozhin Pettigrew.
The news is not making any sense at this point.
It makes total sense.
No, when I was a kid, I believed the news. Let me put it that way. Now, the entire facade is falling apart. Every single thing that's happening, it's falling apart. And so they're lying so blatantly and so much in order to just maintain some level of power. I don't know exactly what's true, except for, like I do like the candidates right now. Funny thing is, RFK Jr. is kind of
Wait. Hold on. You're doing all right there. All right. When you were young, you believed the news, and now the news is full of crap, right? But
I'm learning.
But the news was full of crap then. Yeah, and guess what's even more full of crap is your history books. And guess what? All of these candidates are full of crap. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you, though, because a lot of stuff has happened in this elections, and you're like somebody who still believes in wrestling. So what do you think of the mugshot?
I definitely don't believe in wrestling. But the mugshot, there are two ways to go with the mugshot. A, they think they can beat Trump. That's one way to view it. They think that they're going to beat Trump. They've already honkened the election, and that's why they're rolling out COVID. See, the thing is that there's so much stuff happening right now, and it all intertwines. So that's one way to view it. They're going to try the honking again in the Democratic states. They're going to run out. They're going to shut down, remask. And then the other way to view it is they've seriously screwed the pooch. They have seriously overstepped their bounds. And you can view overstepping their bounds in two ways. One, they just simply thought that this gambit would work and they would be able to turn the American people against them. The second way to view it is the black population I'm pretty sure we're supposed to refer to them as black and us as white. Now, we're not supposed to refer African Americans as now the out of thing. But anyway, the black population has been so they've been targeted for so long, especially in Democrat areas, that they are starting to identify with Trump right now on unjust incarceration.
You can call them black as long as you capitalize the B. That's how it works now.
But the unjust incarceration, there are so many videos coming across my feed of African Americans basically being like, oh, sorry, blacks. Whatever. I'm white. Well, I'm Colombian. Whatever it is. I don't care. Spanish. Whatever. But there's so many.
You should have tuned into the WTF forum the other day. There was other words going around.
It's everything. Everything's so ridiculous right now because they're doing animal farm. They're trying to change the words. They're trying to everything's changing on that front. But then they're incarcerating a president. And they specifically that they refer to Obama as former president, and they refer to Trump as ex-president. It's word games all across the board. Even with the incarceration BS, they specifically use incarceration because the people that were Confederates could not run for political office because they went against, and incarceration was the main word used. They went against the U.S. government. And so nobody even brought a gun to the protests. I'm going to divulge because, anyway.
Okay, so you remember how Napoleon, when he was sent off to that island in exile, and he came back, and then the thing is, or no, they sent him to jail. Eventually, they had to send him off to an island in exile. But then, let's see, it was Stalin was in jail for a little bit before he became the leader. Hitler was in jail for a little bit before he became the leader. This is a ritual. And so you got to understand, first of all, that all of this stuff is occultic. Uh, they do rituals all the time, and I'm sure that this is more than just those three examples. And
No,
now I think they might actually send him to jail before he
missed the guy
wins the
with the hair in
presidency.
South Africa. He was the guy, black dude with the hair.
Oh, Mandela, yeah.
Yeah.
The commie piece of crap that everybody acts like was some good guy, but he wasn't. Now,
for Che Guevara's or whatever his face was.
Yeah, there you go. There's plenty of examples of people who have gone to jail before they started leading their country. This is a ritual, and it's based off of that. It's an echo of those things. This is like, tear them down, pick them up kind of thing. The other thing is that the currency of the world is not money. It's not gold. It's not oil. By the way, oil is up to $300 a barrel now. I just saw that news, that delightful news. Apparently, there's a refinery in Louisiana that is shut down at the moment because of some problems, and also we've got a hurricane coming in, and that always messes with the price of fuel. So anyway, but back to what I was saying.
I own a lawn care business, so all that news is terrifying to me. And then most of my customers are on pensions. So it's like, hey, customers on pensions, I need to raise your price. Sucks. Anyway, digression.
So the currency of the world is not gold. It's not oil. It's not even data. People say data is the new oil. You've heard that before, I'm sure. It's not that. It's definitely not that. It's not any of those resources. The real currency that goes around is blackmail. And the thing is, they have it on every single person that you see in power. Every single person that you see heading a corporation, I guarantee you that Zuckerberg, Musk, all these people. I mean, Musk has a lot of he's basically got a scandalous life. But I'm sure that the things. I mean, he's got kids running around everywhere. It's
not a problem in my opinion. That's a good thing.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing if it was with one woman, but he's got like 1 million kids with 1 million different wives, including one that's currently shacked up with a tranny. Now, and one of his kids is a tranny, so there's even more to it. Anyway,
but the thing is, when it's out in the open, that's why I don't.
Yeah, those are the out in the open things.
But that's why I don't have a problem with Kushner and his deals with that investment group in the Middle East. They put it out right away. Whereas with Biden's son, they did their best to hide it. That's when it's real corruption. Like if I have friends in powerful places that want to invest money with me and I let it be known, it's not like I'm trying to hide it. It just means that I have good connections.
What is this Kushner thing you're talking about?
Kushner and Saudi Arabia money. He had Saudi Arabia put $1 billion into an investment group with Kushner. Does not mean he has $1 billion, but it means that Kushner is working. That's Ivanka.
So he profited off of being the son-in-law of the president. I mean, in many more ways than one. He basically made most of Trump's appointments, most of the bad ones. I mean, he basically was the hidden hand in all of these terrible White House situations. Ray, the FBI director that's going after Trump and who just executed a man in Utah, by the way, Ray was appointed by Kushner. So, I mean, by Trump, but, these judges that they say are appointed by Trump that are going after Trump right now were actually appointed by Kushner. So
my caveat, I understand the perspective you're coming from. My caveat is my point is the money that's coming to Kushner in an investment group from Saudi Arabia was out in the open right away. They were not trying to hide it. It was just like, hey, I made friends with these guys. These guys trust me. We're going to invest. Whenever it comes to Bo Biden and Joe Biden, they were trying to hide it in order to
You mean
not take
Hunter?
Hunter. Yeah, Hunter.
Bo's dead.
Bo's dead. That's right.
Yeah,
Well,
he breathed a lot of the air from all the things that they were burning in Iraq.
I actually have one of my friends actually was near the burn pits. We call him Shaky Tits because he has a
Oh,
tremor like this nonstop.
yeah, that was nasty. You know, number one polluter in the world is the U.S. military. Let's put it that way, real quick.
One way to go. But my point is I do like the fact that any advantages that the Trump family got is out in the open. They don't try to hide it. Whereas, with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, Joe Biden was, caught on tape saying, "Hey, you need to fire that guy over in Ukraine, that prosecutor, or else you're not going to get $1 billion in funding." And that was before the war. Like the level of corruption that they're running at
So,
is so high. It's
yeah, well, this is stuff we see. This is what we see. I'm talking about the stuff we don't see. I'm talking about the Epstein ring and a variety of other things. Because if you think that there's one Epstein and one Ghislaine Maxwell, you've lost it. This is a huge ring. And blackmail is the currency of the world. This is how all these leaders are controlled, and they are doing things that they all have done, things that you're just like that are beyond disgusting. And that's why you hear about the stuff, you see the things, like the Sound of Freedom movie that's barely even scratches the surface. This kind of shit is going on between most of the elite of the world, and it's all on tape, and these guys have it on these people. The stuff that Trump is getting in trouble for is nothing. This is all just a show. And you know that he's been to the island. So you know that they probably actually have a real tape on him. And if they wanted to take him down, they could and they would. They don't want to take him down. This is a ritual. They are going to put him in power in 2024. It's pretty obvious to me.
See, this is where you and me differ. This is why I like Trump. This is why I like Vivek. They've been trying to go after him and they can't find anything. And the only things they're going after Trump on are the exact same things Biden is currently doing, interfering with the election. They're interfering with the election by going after Trump.
I think Biden's in actual trouble right now with those guys that have the things on people.
But
I don't think that laptop was supposed to get out there. These kind of damning things are not, and blackmail like that, like things, real scandals and things like that. They're supposed to be holding that currency. That currency is not supposed to be seen by us. And then the media running cover for all of these situations diminishes their power. So he's a hot potato.
Well, exactly. He's a hot potato right now, but they've already got rid of all the other hot potatoes. Let me just go through my opinion. My opinion is that Trump broke the news cycle. He broke the fake news. Well, he exposed the fake news is a better way to say it. And basically Trump, he's considered running before, and he did technically run one time under the Reform Party in I think the 90s. But
Trump don't remember that.
Really?
He did? Yeah? Or was he just in the primaries, or did he actually run?
Well, it was under the Reform Party, and if I'm not mistaken, that was the same. I'm very well could be mistaken. That was the same time that Ross Perot was running. In that same election, Trump ran, and he kind of
92.
He dropped out, and he did something with that really annoying black guy that's a Jew hater. He did some appearances with
Farrakhan?
Yeah, Farrakhan. There we go. He did something. basically it was a ploy to, I can't remember what the ploy was, but essentially he changed the election cycle a little bit. But it was, that was actually a notoriety thing, and that's why they assumed in the 2016 election that he was doing just straight notoriety, and that in 2016 he was serious. But he was serious about it. But it's see, this is my thing with, this is my opinion, and I'm sure you have a rebuttal. The reason I like Vivek and the reason I like Trump is because I don't think they can be bought off. From what I understand, Trump has lost multiple millions of dollars in value because people won't go to his hotels, etc. He's losing money through all these lawsuits, etc. He's in it for real right now. That's what my opinion is, and that's also why I like Vivek. Vivek can't be bought off because he has enough money to survive on. He doesn't need to play the game of politics in order to get money through backroom deals, which is what a lot of politicians do. They get money through backroom deals, or they get money through, or they run for office so that they can get, extremely large pensions that they vote for themselves. That's why I think they're terrified of Trump, and that's why I think they're terrified of Vivek. Vivek, his main problem is he has a funny name. The other side to having the funny name is people are going to start remembering who he is. That's similar with my name. At the beginning of high school, I would have, whenever I first started high school, everybody was like, I'll never remember that name. And then now when I meet anybody that I used to go to high school with, they remember me right away. And I think that's going to play in Vivek's favor. But I think Vivek being VP is going to change the dimension a whole lot of VP running mate. And I think there's a reason he's playing up that whole aspect of, I can't be a second fiddle. But I think the reason he's doing that is because he wants to make sure as VP, his leash is very, very long.
Uh, yeah. So you think that the Republican debates are really just who's going to be the VP?
Unless Trump gets assassinated, yes. That's my opinion. But the main question I was asking you is, like, in my opinion, the reason I really like Trump and the reason I really like Vivek, I don't think they can be bought off. They're independently wealthy. They're not in it for the money. I think they're in it because they love the country, and I don't think they can be bought off.
I think that they've already sold out. That they're the fact that they're on that stage and trying to even get money from a lot of the sides. I don't really see that there's any good guys in this, and that Vivek is, or is it? I thought it was Vivek, and lately it's been Vivek. Why is
I
that?
might be wrong.
Okay, I thought it was Vivek. Lately, people have been saying Vivek, and like they added an I or an yeah or
Vivek.
AI. Yeah. Oh, they added AI to it. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. After the AI bit in the debate where you sound like your answers came from Chat GPT. Um, the other good burn, the one that actually works and stings is whenever and was Pence was actually kind of funny during the whole thing, but he said that nobody's gonna vote for you. You're a Hindu, and I was like based.
Well, it did take me, like, honestly, it took me a couple months to actually figure out what he was, because the way Vivek words his answers are very broad whenever it comes to what his actual religion is. And it took a while for me to actually realize that he was actually Hindu, because he was like, there's one true God, like, but the way Hindus view God, it's whoever, it's kind of the same way Jews view God. It's, whoever you believe, as long as you're moral, as long as whatever system you're operating under is a moral system, then you're operating under the true God, no matter what you name him by. So that's essentially,
Yeah, it's like a polytheistic, but there's only one supreme God.
but
But
it's the
there's yeah.
morals. I like it mainly goes by the morals that we essentially write the human rights morals under, which of course under Christianity is, God displays himself through nature. Like everybody's going to get to that understanding at some point. So it's an interesting way to approach it. But I mean, I don't have a problem with him being Hindu personally, because the way he approaches it is not derogatory towards other people. So.
I think that if he was going for any lesser position, then it wouldn't be a problem. But
Oh,
uh,
it's going
uh
to. He's definitely
it,
not getting president. He could.
yeah, he's definitely not.
But I think VP he could actually pull it off. Personally.
I think he's just like the Republican version of Andrew Yang.
Oh, definitely not in my opinion.
Why is that? Because what Yang did, first of all, he put out a trial balloon, and I guarantee you it's going to happen. So he's getting people comfortable and used to this idea of UBI, and UBI is part of their agenda. It was just, he floated it out as a trial balloon, and then a whole bunch of people watched him on Rogan and were like, "Oh, this guy's going to give me $1,000 a month, yeah." And it's like, okay, yeah, there's your freedom dividend. Oh, he makes sense. He doesn't seem like a typical Democrat. Uh, yeah, he told you he's going to give you money, and you believed him. Typical Democrat, as far as
Well,
I'm concerned.
I've listened to a lot of Vivek's stuff, just as we've listened to a lot of Trump stuff. The thing with Yang was it was a set of talking points that he knew so well that he could, change the wording and sound extremely authentic. But it was with Yang, it's kind of a cultish perspective. It's like it's the difference between talking to I call myself a Baptist-costal. It's the difference between talking to somebody who's actually spent a lot of time studying scripture and somebody who's spent a lot of time listening to one pastor. Yang has one line of thinking, but he spent a lot of time listening to that line of thinking. He's learned from, it's not, he hasn't exactly learned from one person, but he has, that's what I call a cultish personality. Somebody that's learned to think in one direction only, as opposed to somebody who's studied a lot of the information and can talk broadly about a multitude of different perspectives and actually has thought through them. That's why I like Vivek, and that's why I also like uh, Robert Kennedy Jr., even though I don't agree with him on almost anything. But I like him because he's not got that cultish line of thinking where it's like I've listened to one person and I'm following this one ideology. He can think for himself. I don't agree with him, but I like him because he can think for himself and he can talk often in an authentic way. That's why I didn't like Yang, because it was always, I'm just talking about this straight line of thinking. It's just that you always have to follow this one stream. Same reason why I don't like a lot of Christian pastors, because they do the exact same thing. They go to seminary and they're taught what to think, not how to think. And that's why I like Trump. That's why I like Yang, not Yang. That's why I like Trump. That's why I like Vivek. And that's why I like Robert K. Jr., even though I disagree with almost everything Robert K. Jr. says, except for on vaccines.
Yeah, he's pretty good about corruption, but that has a lot to do with it. Do with the pharmaceutical industry, which that's where Vivek made all of his money. And I don't trust him. I don't trust anybody though. So I mean, you can take it that way. I definitely don't trust anybody that makes it to that stage. And I know that. Well, my theory as I've told you before, is that they're still building up DeSantis to be Trump's vice president, and that DeSantis will roll in Agenda 2030 in 2030, just as he's meant to do. And the whole plan right now is to nullify the alternatives right now. So you've got this return of COVID that's going on. The media is trying to do this. Alex Jones got a message that said that the TSA agents are trying to prepare for October lockdowns. Now, I don't think that they're actually going to do this, and I don't see it working for that. But what it does work for, you call for if you call for lockdowns again, you're not calling for lockdowns. You know what you're calling for when you call for lockdowns again.
Yeah.
You're calling for a civil war. And that's how sketchy this situation is.
Well, that Scott Adams has specifically called that out. He said, "There's, I'm going to see if I can remember the third line, but one line you can't cross." He said, from his perspective, and I agree with him. One line you can't cross is lockdowns again. That's a line that 46 to 50% of the population will not comply with ever again. It's just not happening. I'm in the South. Nobody in the South is going to comply at all. The other line, Trump being put in jail. I had a friend who went and got back surgery, which he was trying to avoid. He got back surgery specifically so that if things went down, he was going to be in fighting shape. He had been dealing with back pain for years. And he basically went and got back surgery just so if they go to that next level, he wants to be ready and he wants to be the rallying point. And I can guarantee you there will be hundreds of vets turning up and possibly 1,000 guns minimum. And that's just one spot. That's just one spot. And we've got sheriffs, etc. There's a certain level that they're trying to push it too far. And so, in my opinion, from the way you're talking, I view you as thinking that everybody, that the entire thing is a big game that the elites are playing together. That's the way I view you thinking. And in my perspective, yes, there's a big game that the elites are playing, but they're trying to keep out Trump, Vivek, Elon Musk. That's my perspective. They're trying to keep out these guys that are encroaching on their game.
Twitter has been very censorious lately. He handed it over straight to WEF agent Linda Yaccarino, and it's trying to become an everything app. And I mean, those things do great in controlling a large populace. I mean, that's, you've got an everything app in China, and that's the one that tells you if you can go outside or not. So,
yeah. Well, there's, let me see if I can break it down in two ways to view it. I really like what Vivek said. So, about a week ago, Scott Adams got really tired of having to defend Vivek. And he said on his live stream, "Hey, Vivek, I need you to actually post a website to where I can go to so that I can, instead of defending you, I can just point you to, point people to what your answers for the criticisms people have of you." One of those criticisms was Vivek took a scholarship from the WEF or George Soros, one of the two.
Soros's brother, and
Soros's
the
brother,
WEF named him a young global leader, just like they did with Tulsi, just like they did with DeSantis, I believe, and quite a few others. And he paid to be removed from that, I believe.
I don't know about being paid to be removed from it, but I know he
paid lawyers at least, yeah.
Some type of scholarship. But Vivek's answer, because Vivek took Scott Adams' advice, he created a website to where you can go and look at all the debunking for all the criticisms. And his answer is perfect. Why would I leave free money on the table? If I qualified for a PPE loan, I would take it. If my business qualified for the PPE loan, I would totally take it. I have a difference whenever it came to welfare. I am not taking welfare at any point in my life. But that's, for me, that's just standing on principle. But if the government is like, hey, we'll give you a loan with, very low interest, sure. And that's essentially what he
You
did.
you know that were a trap, right?
Well, I didn't qualify for it anyway, so I
Well,
didn't.
they were PPP loans and personal paycheck or some protection, personal paycheck protection, so that you could pay your employees while your business was screwed over during their scamdemic. Now, a few people, I mean, Pelosi's husband took one, and those the only people I ever hear about being forgiven for these loans were celebrities and people that were close to politicians. Everybody else, hey, they're weaponizing the IRS. What do you think? What do you think they're doing that for? Why do you think they're arming up all those IRS agents?
Yeah, you had to have five. Technically, you had to have five employees, but I personally know several people who have gotten the loans, and they're probably going to be really screwed because they had subcontractors. The reason I did not go in for it was because I had one subcontractor, and I was not going to lie on the form. I know at least five people who lied on the form. So it's worded in such a
No,
way
you
that,
don't.
okay, fine, I don't.
Yeah.
Um, but but there's a reason I didn't go for that. I get your perspective, but in my opinion, to bring it back to that, the point I was trying to make, I think that the reason they're terrified of Trump, the reason they're terrified of Musk, which is you did see the lawsuit they're bringing against Musk, right?
Yeah, that he didn't hire enough illegals.
But he's also not allowed to hire any illegals.
Right, damned if you do, damned if you don't. But man, that was just peak clown world right there, where it's hey, you didn't hire enough illegals. You are discriminating against people that are not allowed to work here anyway. I think it's hilarious. It's not going to work, but none of the Trump stuff's going to work. The thing that what did they even get Trump on? It was something. It was the perfect phone call that he had to
Just
Brian Kemp or Brett Rathlisberger. Yeah,
it's such a stupid one. He literally is
well,
saying
if you
in the
listen to
book.
the rest of the phone call, you know what he was saying in the phone call. I mean, you just can't listen to the snippet of news, but so it's not going to work in court. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's not going to work.
Like, hey,
And
hey, I know I didn't lose Georgia. Go figure out where the missing votes are. They're there. I know I didn't lose. Like, whatever. Have you seen that YouTube short of him driving through kind of a ghetto place in Atlanta? He drives. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
Trump. Trump is Trump is being taken to court. He has about 50 motorcycles in front of him because they're guarding him. So the Secret Service is there, etc. And then he has all the different vans, and then he has the Yukons or whatever, and then he has the ambulances behind him just in case he gets hurt, all that stuff. And the entire street is lined with Black Americans cheering Trump on. They are cheering Trump on. They're like, "Go Trump, go Trump, go Trump," essentially. And it's like he did, like there's a lot of honking going on, and that's the only way they're going to win this next election. And that's why they're trying to shut down these Democrat cities with the whole new COVID scare. So, well, quickly, I had COVID last week. It was about 3 days. I had a big headache, and I was extremely tired for 3 days. But whenever before COVID happened, I used to get sick once every 2 years for about 2 weeks, where I couldn't move and I wanted to die. So COVID's way less bad than the flu, at least the current strain. But you know more about what they're trying to do with this new COVID scare. So can you share with me that? Because I actually missed it because I got the COVID.
Well, there's been talk about it. Nothing has actually happened. I think even the places where they tried it in a university. That might still be going on. They tried it at Lionsgate Studios, and that they they basically said no. The employees said no, we're not doing this, and somewhere else, I can't remember off the top of my head the other place that I heard they tried to lock down, and they said no, but it was another place in California. Um, if Californians aren't going for it, then it's not going to work. I did see a guy in Pennsylvania today wearing one of the stupid duckbill masks, and he he had 6 feet of space between him and everybody else, and he went and got his donkeys. But yeah, that's there's still going to be that idiot. I've seen the same people in airports, all through this thing, whether they lift it or not. There's people that will always trust in their mask, and like I've got an aunt who has taken 6 shots. Definitely not Aunt Laura. She's taken 0, but my another aunt has taken 6. She's been quadruple boosted after, and she can't wait for the new shot that they're launching. They're launching in October, so that's part of what this is. So there will be a new shot coming around, and guess who they're going to encourage to take it? People that have already taken a shot. And guess who is the most likely to take it? People who have already taken a shot. I don't see why anybody that didn't take the shot last time will start now. Drew, on the WTF forum when we first brought this up 2 Sundays ago, has a theory that they might be making a lot more something seem a lot more lethal, and that's pretty scary. So if the numbers are way higher than last time, and people, and you're actually seeing the bodies on the streets that they tried to scare you with the Chinese video in the beginning of the last scamdemic, then it could be a pretty bad situation. I don't think they're gonna do it. I think that this is just kind of see how poke us with a stick and see how we react, kind of thing. And plus, it takes a lot of the heat off of Biden completely bumbling the Hawaii thing, while at the same time raising lots and lots of money for the Ukraine, just making sure more and more money goes over there, because it comes back to him.
That's the thing this is what makes me believe, and I've been in big companies, I've been in small companies, I own a small company. You make mistakes as somebody that's trying to run stuff. It's not like you've got everything perfect and you can't see everything. That's why I think they have made a massive mistake in pulling Trump in. Massive mistake. And they thought that they could use Biden, and Biden is making things collapse around them. He is exposing all the corruption. And
that's the point. That's the whole point. His slogan is "Build Back Better." You have to destroy it before you can start trying to build it back. And they're building it back, gayer than ever. So
the only way you can, that's why I think the war industrial complex is pushing for this war in Ukraine, because the reason the U.S. became so powerful was because we were the only country that could produce after World War II, because all of Europe and most of large portions of Asia were completely destroyed by the war during World War II. And now we've gone through a cycle of communist infiltration that destroyed us because of unions. Unions destroyed the car industry in America, essentially. Because the car industry in America,
globalism destroyed America.
Yeah, and
multiculturalism destroyed America.
but like this is the only area that I would agree with Andrew Yang on is the way that the stock market is set up to where you always have to pursue more profit for your company rather than just keeping it profitable. Like each CEO that comes in has to figure out how to add another 1% or 10% in order to keep his job. That causes them to try to squeeze in certain areas. Like that's the one aspect of the capitalism in America that I don't like, because they'll be like, okay, we're gonna make, you know, I'm in charge. Let's say I'm in charge of building uh, houses. Well, I'm gonna figure out how to use the. I'm gonna. I have to figure out how to cuts down, or I have to figure out how to charge more for the houses. And so the easiest way is to cut costs. And so I watched a video earlier today of some house out in Ohio. I think it was Ohio. A 4,000 square foot house, literally splitting in half because they were just trying to figure out how to cut costs. That's like the only area that I agree with Andrew Yang on is the way that we incentivize the CEOs because they have to figure out how to cut costs.
Well, that and making corporations people was a huge blunder. And I mean, it was by design, by intent.
I might get to a point of agreement with you on that on some point at some point, but I still think if several people come together in order to create an entity, their lives should not be destroyed if one mistake happens. That's the way I understand that law. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's my understanding. If me and
But
one of my friends come together and say something out loud, we should still have freedom of speech.
corporations have so much protection. The thing is, the problem is that you, with your small business, and a lot of businesses in between you and a corporation, have a lot more liability and have to spend a lot of time and money and energy trying to keep their liability okay, while corporations generally are running the show. I mean, you saw it during COVID, the corporate tyranny that came our way, and
Well, that to me, the COVID was a level of corporate tyranny that was straight corruption. That's different
you don't
than
have access to corruption unless you're a corporation, though. I mean, they're not trying to, launder money through your lawn mowing businesses. They're doing it through Sam Bankman frauds and things like that, Silicon Valley banks. They're doing it that way.
well, it's there's overall a different level. This once again, just straight my opinion. There is a different level to like part of the reason I believe that I don't have a problem with the corporation laws is you don't get innovation unless you don't get the innovation unless you allow people to have freedom to press forward and possibly make mistakes because the bigger the corporation, the more investment you have, the more money you have to solve the problems. Like the medical industry, for example, you're going to have a lot of failed
That's who it
experiments.
was. It was Kaiser Permanente. Speaking of the other company that wasn't going to abide by the by more mandates.
So I don't have a well. That was like they had one facility scare, and they made everybody in one level have a mask in just one level.
Speaking of, uh, this story happened really close to where I live. One of the schools in Texas shut down because supposedly 20 teachers and the superintendent, who's the determiner of shutting the school down, got the coup. They shut it down until today. I think that this guy's an agent. First of all, he runs a school district that has less than, or it has almost on the nose, 200 students, and is making over 100,000 a year, which I'm sure is not crazy pay for a superintendent, but I would think it would be for a district that small. Um, it seems like a lot for somebody for such a small district, and yeah, he's got a COOP tracker on his website, and it shows the status of all these things. So he's obviously some sort of fanatic. So and this is how the ball gets rolling. This is how other schools with other crazy faculty get shut down, and maybe they do get something along the way. But yeah, Runge ISD is the name of the place if you want to look it up for the people out there in the world. Hector Dominguez is the name of the superintendent who decided to shut it down. In case you want to go bullhorn his house and be like, "Hey, idiot, go back to work, lazy."
See, this is why I like Trump and I like Vivek. They are in the position because they have the money. They don't have to do it. They're not trying to make money by doing it. They are trying to fix what they view as a system that's breaking down. Because I know
Yeah, Vivek's just short of being a billionaire, right? Pharma money. He's shilled for the
something like
vaccine
that.
whenever it first came around. Trump shilled for the vaccine. You know, they all love this stuff. So yeah.
See, my thing is, I don't judge people during the fog of war when you're trying to find a solution.
The fog is over, and they haven't said it.
That both of them have basically said it, and
No,
both
they
of them don't.
haven't.
They're totally against vaccine mandates and they're against
Okay,
mask mandates.
okay,
They
they're against mandates, but they're not against the thing that you're seeing 20-year-old athletes dying every day, and and
you
it's
can
been
look
going on. It's
you can
been
look at
going
those
on.
you can look at those studies. Those studies got they got amplified because people were worried. It doesn't mean that they're exactly true. And if you're not 100% confident as a politician, you're not going to come out, and I'm not going to come out and say, definitely, people are dying because of the vaccine. There's not enough studies out there yet, and all the studies are going to be corrupted anyway because it turned so political so fast. I'm not going to put 100% behind one thing or 100%
Not
behind the
not
other
gonna
thing.
lose that
All,
Pfizer money for your inauguration party. You're not gonna lose that. No way.
all for me, my only thing is if any of my friends ask, I tell them don't get the vaccine. That's my opinion. I don't care how old they are, but I'm not going to judge people because I don't know all the facts. That's my opinion on that. I personally am not going to get it, and I'm going to advise anybody that asks me not to get it as well. That's my opinion, but that doesn't mean I know. And as a politician, you can't come
As a
out.
politician that is worshipped by so many, uh, you can't say, "Hey, don't do this," because this was not tested properly. In fact, it was irresponsibly warp speeded faster than any other product to any other medical product to ever get out onto the market. It was warp speeded by that man.
I I understand that it's warp speeded. That doesn't mean that I think he made a mistake in warp speeding it. He was trying to find a solution to a problem. Because at the very beginning, I I lost one of my businesses and I lost 10 houses because no mail was coming through. Because at the very beginning, people forget at the very beginning, we didn't even know if it could be transferred like anthrax. For 2 weeks, no mail was being delivered. I got no checks for 2 weeks for jobs I did because we had no idea what we were dealing with. I am not digging back into the fog of war era. I'm dealing with the situations that we know after the fact. He was trying to rush something to solve a problem that he thought was going to become very bad. A lot of people still don't remember Nancy Pelosi was going around in Chinatown in New York City and hugging all the Chinatown people. And the first people that wore masks were Republicans because Fauci put out that little uh, deceitful thing because he was trying to conserve masks for people that were working in hospitals. The M19 masks or whatever they were called.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah,
so much has happened in the last 4 years. You
it's
can't
insane.
just. It's. As somebody that's an entrepreneur, as somebody that's gone through life, and dealt with people. I do my best not to judge people on hindsight 2020. I know in my life I could have done a lot of things
No, that's
different.
fine. That's fine. I'll give you that. He has hindsight now.
Yeah,
Yeah, he has hindsight now, and he's not answering the really hard question, the one that's been on all of our minds for a very long time. Uh, he's still taking that money from Albert Bourla, you know.
I don't know about that.
No, I
Don't
mean
know.
his inauguration party, he got I believe it was $100 million from Pfizer.
Oh, I had no idea what you
Yeah,
meant by
I
I
mean
don't know.
he's probably going to get the same Albert Bourla as the CEO of Pfizer, the highest paid pharmaceutical CEO in the world. He invented a thing that prevents boar taint. Boar taint is what makes boars, pigs, whenever they go feral, they turn into boars. It's a testosterone inhibitor. Hmm. Hmm. Weird. Weird. Kind of strange. You know.
Yeah, that's see to me my main point is everything's complicated. You can always find fault in someone. You can always find fault. My opinion is that I want the politicians that are making the decisions to be people that are wealthy enough that they don't have to make money off of the other people. They don't have to make money by creating laws. They are wealthy enough that they don't need they make enough money to where they don't need to have to get bribes. Like that's the
They
type of
still
politics
they still take bribes.
that's where
They
you and me
still
differ.
do it. I mean, you saw the money that Trump is taking in over time, and and like you said before about leaving money on the table, they don't leave money on the table. They take it. If somebody else will fit the bill for them, they'll take it. If it doesn't cost them too much, but
But I
whenever
can.
you look at that cost, you got to determine what it is. He might not be as outwardly as corrupt as the Biden family, but they're probably on their way out. I don't think that Joe's going to finish his term. We might see at least a few months of Kamala as president, and that's pretty frightening. But
That's why I think they seriously. That's why I think it's all incompetence. I don't think there's a ginormous.
it, it as is commonly said by the great Pete Quinones, if it was all incompetence, then every now and then they would make a mistake in our favor.
In my opinion, that's what's happening right now.
What? How are they making mistakes in our favor?
Trump and Vivek.
Okay. They're just two guys that don't care about you personally. They don't.
I think they do everything,
They're
but
just more politicians.
I mean, for me, everything I do, I put other people first to a fault to where people criticize me for it. I mean, tons of people criticize me for it, but it doesn't turn out bad. Like I've had friends that I've helped them out over the last couple of years. They went out of their way to help me out in the last 3 weeks where I've had a really crappy 3 weeks. I always go out of my way to try to help other people out. And one of my principles is if I'm having a crappy day, I'm going to find somebody to help, whether it's jump starting their car or something. I'm always going to try to find somebody to help. I have tons of work to do, etc. But if I'm not having a good day, I'm going to go out of my way to help somebody else out. And and to me, that's like, I know I'm an optimistic, but I think that's what drives people once they get to FU money, as Joe Rogan calls it, FU money. They're just gonna once you get FU money, you're no longer worried about the money. You're worried about what's around you, because if you don't have purpose, you're gonna die. Like, there's a reason that my grandmother and granddad. My grandmother died and my granddad died 6 months later. He no longer had that person by him or that purpose to help somebody else out with. And I think that's what drives people like Vivek and Trump. They have enough money, they don't have to worry about money anymore, and therefore they have to find another purpose. I remember this specifically whenever I was down in Florida, because if all my plans go correctly, I'm going to have a lot of money in the next year. And I went up to my pastor in Florida and I said, I need to make sure. I asked him to pray over me. It's like, I need to make sure that I'm not going to run myself into the ground when I have 100 grand in my pocket, because it's so easy just to get addicted to, like,
Yeah,
stuff.
this world is disgusting. Yeah.
It's so easy to get addicted to self pleasure. That's a better way to say it. Self pleasure. And then I've seen so many people get addicted to self pleasure. They run themselves straight into the ground, and then they don't get to the next level because they run self straight into the ground. And in my opinion, people that become successful in business only become successful in business by taking their money and intentionally helping other people. And that's one of the reasons I did not become a pastor. It's the reason I became a business person. Because as a business person, I can disciple somebody with me for 8 to 10 hours a day. I can teach them for 8 to 10 hours a day how to grow themselves, how to become better. And I think that the level that Trump and Vivek are operating on is that next level up, because they have enough money. They don't need to do anything in order to survive, but they're choosing to push themselves forward. That's my perspective. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's what my
Gotcha.
perspective is.
Well, let's end it. Got anything else for us?
I've got let's end it on the fun note.
Okay.
The fun note. The kid. Did you hear about the kid that
The Gadsden flag?
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah,
to
that was
me
pretty
about
cool.
that.
Yeah, the kid was based, as his backpack said. All right.
And then my favorite part of that one was he did an interview with Ben Shapiro earlier, that 11-minute interview, and Ben Shapiro was basically like, "Hey, we're gonna send you like kind of a startup package," and his eyes were like, whoop. His eyes like went wide. He's like, "You guys are gonna help me out with stuff." That kid's gonna be an amazing person. I love the fight.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Dude, peace.